Endermen are strange creatures, even for Minecraft standards. Originally introduced in Beta 1.8, they are a 3-block tall, skinny creature that can teleport and pick up blocks. They are neutral mobs and only attack if you are hostile to them first, so you leave them alone and avoid eye contact, and they'll leave you alone. But what are they exactly? And why must they scream? Let's get this out of the way first. Endermen are not inspired by Slenderman. The name is, but only because the similarities were spotted after the Enderman was already created, so this video will not be about Slenderman. Because I think it's more complicated than that, and a lot more interesting. So when I say Endermen are strange, even for Minecraft standards, I mean first that Endermen are not only among the few creatures completely unique to Minecraft's lore, but they were among the first unique creatures created after the creeper. Now I know what you're thinking, but Bobs, there are plenty of unique mobs to Minecraft. What makes the Endermen so special? And my response is, have you seen them? They're so cool. But really, Endermen are particularly unique and strange compared to the other mobs for multiple reasons. They are one of the 2 mobs that can naturally teleport, the other being shulkers, which are the only other end mob that Endermen are neutral to. I'll get back to this. They're injured by water, instantly teleporting out of water if they're able to in order to avoid harm. They can't be hit by projectiles at all. In fact, as seen in the ridiculous contraption built by Dog M77, they literally can't be hit by projectiles, even if they can't teleport out of the way. Doc, of course, used this mechanic to make a machine that shoots an arrow with so much force it can one-shot a warden. They are friendly unless you look into their eyes, which is when they start screaming and attacking. However, if you stare directly into their eyes, they will remain aggressive, but they will freeze and can't move. However, you can't move far either without the attack continuing. They are the only mob to spawn in all 3 dimensions naturally, the only other multi-dimensional mob being skeletons, which can spawn in the overworld and nether. They are the only mob that can pick up and place blocks, meaning they have the ability to interact with the world around them in ways only players can typically. Finally, the strangest thing about them, in my opinion, is that they can speak English, or an attempt at it. All of their sounds are warped and distorted English phrases like hi, hey, what's up, hello, and look for the eye. And, most curious, they say thank you when you kill the Ender Dragon. This, combined with the Free the End achievement, implies some things. In fact, there's a lot that's implied in Minecraft. It's rare that the game just gives us answers, preferring to let the player discover and figure out the lore on their own. First, it's implied that Endermen are from the end. They're called Endermen, the men of the end. But Endermen were added into the game before the end was. It also seems like the Endermen in the end are trapped there under the dragon. Second, it's implied that someone or something did live in the end at one point, seeing as there are end cities, but they aren't inhabited like villages are, with creatures living and working there. Now, the game implies some other stuff, but I have to take a step away from Enderman real quick because this is where it gets interesting. Based on the abandoned structures littered around the world, there were civilizations here before us, the player, came to this world. Intelligent civilizations that practiced and made working redstone mechanisms. Villagers are the next civilization developing in this world next to the player, but it's clear that the player is of the people of old, seeing as the only thing that looks remotely like us are the dead, like zombies and skeletons. Something happened a long time ago that wiped out most of the life in the world, destroying civilizations and completely resetting the world, so it slowly had to regrow and find life again. An extinction event, if you will. Now, if you're like me, you might be connecting some dots. If you're not like me, you have no idea where I'm going, and I'm about to make a reach that's going to sound insane. So here it goes. I believe that Endermen were the people before us, the last civilization before the extinction event happened, but not the Endermen we know now. Endermen clearly show that they have some intelligence not shown by other mobs, being able to interact with the world and being able to talk, but there's no structure to what they do. Seemingly picking up and placing blocks at random and just blurting out random greetings like that's all they know. I think that in their prime, when they were fully functional and conscious beings, they built the ancient structures we stumble upon today. I think they were more than just conscious beings, though. I think they were intelligent. They were incredibly advanced and constantly striving to continue to advance. Originally, they lived in the overworld, but through whatever they were doing, whatever they were learning and striving for, they ended up discovering and unlocking the end. But what were they striving for? Maybe teleportation? Now, I know, but Bobs, Endermen can already teleport. But how do we know they could always teleport? Before this hypothetical extinction event, maybe they weren't that different from us. Same shape, just a little distorted. Either way, what if they wanted teleportation? And how do you gain teleportation? Well, we gain it through Endermen. But what's the source? What is the natural source of teleportation in Minecraft? Chorus fruit. They found the end, they made a portal and they found the end, and when you go into the end, you're stuck there until you kill the dragon. And they weren't able to kill the dragon. So, they essentially trapped themselves in an alternate dimension that is the equivalent of the endless expanse of space. Nothing but void and floating rock. Logically, they would want to get away from the main island, so they spread out to the outer islands, developing cities and discovering the source of teleportation. And I'm not sure if they found shulkers out in the deep end or if they made shulkers, but either way, shulkers became the only other creatures inhabiting these desolate islands with them. Now, you don't just suddenly go crazy, forget who you were, and almost completely how to speak just because you're trapped in an alternate dimension. But if you're infected with a parasite, you might. I know that seemed to come out of completely nowhere, but I'm talking about theoretical block game lore. Let me have fun. Now, back to my parasite theory. Where did that come from? What parasite? Endermites. Again, a creature of the end, but Endermen are incredibly hostile towards them, and they spawn from ender pearls, which you can only get from killing Endermen. See what I'm getting at here? Maybe, while the Endermen were trapped in a strange world, eating strange fruit that allowed them to harness teleportation, maybe they got infected with Endermites. These creatures crawled and thrived inside them. It allowed them to control the teleportation, but it slowly corrupted their minds, distorting them, changing them from people to creatures. What's even worse is that I think I know where this hypothetical parasite resides in Endermen. It's in their eyes. Going back to ender pearls, these are essentially their eyes. In fact, they become eyes of ender when combined with blaze powder, and they are what release the endermites. The endermites being literally in their heads would also explain the deterioration of their minds. It also explains why they see the world in negative colors. The parasites are literally affecting how they see. Of course, Endermen aren't just mindless creatures. We know they still remember how they used to be, in a way, what they used to do, what they used to create, how they used to speak, just like us. They also remember what Endermites are. It's ingrained in them now. That's why they attack on sight when they see them. Of course, they also attack you and I when we look at them properly. Maybe it's because they remember they were once like us. They were once able to do what we do. They had minds like us. They didn't always have monsters in their eyes. Maybe that's why they scream.